Good morning, and welcome to TVUUC. Or perhaps I should say, thank you for welcoming me. My name is Christopher Watkins Lamb, and I'm excited to be joining you as your online music coordinator. I grew up in this church, and so it feels great to return in this capacity. I'm here to help facilitate distance music making, and it will truly be distanced as I am living in Fort Collins, Colorado. Since the pandemic, I have been directing online music at our Fort Collins church, and we have discovered the beautiful possibilities of musical collaboration while each staying in our own homes. While it is appropriate to grieve the loss of in-person music making, there are new and inspiring ways for us to sing together. Music is so foundational to church and to life. Songs weave us together, holding us when we struggle, and taking us to new heights when we celebrate. The music we create together will be made up of your voices, your instruments, your hearts and souls. I know I have been nurtured by the music of this community so many times. You have nurtured me, and I'm honored that you have seen in me the capacity to serve as a minister in our faith tradition. You and 2 other congregations will be ordaining me on Saturday, September 12th at 3 p.m. in an online service. Everyone's invited. Just go to foothillsuu.org/ordination to join on the day. Steve Pablino once wrote, "Hard work is painful when life is devoid of purpose. But when you live for something greater than yourself and the gratification of your own ego, then hard work becomes a labor of love." I have truly seen the labor of so many of you that have given to this community, that in turn is a beacon of light for many, many more. I hope you will join me in this new territory as we seek to make songs together in the spirit of inspiration and innovation. See you online, and let us worship together.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our great covenant.
As we go marching, marching in the beauty of the day, 1,000,000 darkened kitchens, 1,000 mill-lofts gray, are touched with all the radiance that a sudden sun discloses. For the people hear us singing, bread and roses, bread and roses. As we come marching, marching, we battle too for men, for they are in the struggle, and together we shall win. Our days shall not be sweated, from birth until life closes. Hearts starve as well as bodies. Give us bread, but give us roses. As we come marching, marching, unnumbered women dead go crying through our singing their ancient call for bread. Small art and love and beauty, their trudging spirits new. Yes, it is bread we fight for, but we fight for roses too. As we go marching, marching, we're standing proud and tall. The rising of the women means the rising of us all. No more the drudge and idler, tend that toil where one reposes, but a sharing of life's glories, bread and roses, bread and roses. Our lives shall not be sweated, from birth until life closes. Hearts starve as well as bodies. Give us bread, but give us roses.
Hello. I have a story to share with you today about somebody who did some good work. I wonder if you can think of any good work that you have done. It might be your vocation, your job. It might be something that you worked really hard on that was for somebody else in your community or for somebody in your family. But think about some good work that you have done. This is a story about somebody who did some good work. I'll let you think as the story goes along about who it is we might be talking about. So, the story begins with a farmer who was known in the area as Old Joe. Probably when he was younger he was not yet Old Joe, but now he was, and he had lived a long, long life, had been on his farm for many, many years, and so had his neighbor. And he and his closest neighbor were really good friends. They had been friends for decades. Both of them had lost their spouses at this time by now, and they really were the people who were closest to one another in their lives at this point. And yet, for the first time in all of their years of being in a relationship together as friends, they had had a serious disagreement. Have you ever had a disagreement with somebody you were friends with? Well, here's what the disagreement was. A calf, a stray calf, had been found, and it was wandering on the neighbor's land. And so she claimed it as her own. And she thought, well, it must have been one of mine. It's on my land, it's my cow, it's my calf. Yeah. But Old Joe, on the other hand, looked at the stray calf and said, you know what? That calf has the exact same markings as one of my cows. And he claimed it as his own. And the two of them argued and argued and argued about it. And the funny thing is, neither one of them really needed that calf. But they were both pretty stubborn people. And they could not come to agreement on who really owned that calf. And finally, each of them turned around and stomped off back to their homes and slammed the doors. And you know what? Old Joe and his neighbor did not speak again for more than 2 weeks. Now that was really unusual because they usually spent time together almost every day. But then, finally, one Saturday, there was a knock at old Joe's door. He wasn't expecting anybody, and so he thought, you know what? I bet that's my neighbor. I bet she has finally come to her senses and has come to apologize to me. And as he went and opened the door expecting to see her, instead, he saw a young man standing at the door. And the man was holding a wooden toolbox, and he said, "Pardon me, I am a traveling carpenter, and I'm in need of some work, and so I came by to see, do you have any projects that I might be able to help you with?" And old Joe thought for a few minutes, and then he said, "You know what? I absolutely do have a job for you. It is so good that you came by today, because you want to know what happened just a couple of days ago? Do you see that house over there?" And he pointed to his neighbor's house. "And you see that creek running right between, that is the line of our property. And do you know what? That creek was not there until 2 days ago. That pond up there, the upper pond, my neighbor hitched a plow to her tractor and then pulled and dug out that creek bed all the way up from the upper pond, all the way down along our property line, and then flooded it. And now there's a creek just to separate our properties. And she did it just to make me mad. And you know what? It worked. I cannot believe she did that. And you know, so I do have a job for you. And the job is this. I have a bunch of lumber and posts in my barn, and what I want you to do is take all of that, take it over to where the creek is, and build a fence, a really, really tall fence all along that creek, because I don't even want to see her house anymore." And the carpenter thought for a minute, and then smiled and said, "I'll do a good job for you," and got to work. So the carpenter began carrying the lumber and the posts down to where the creek was. And old Joe needed to go to town for some supplies. They lived way out in the countryside, and so it really was a full day excursion to go out and get supplies from town. And so he waited long enough to see that the carpenter had really gotten to work and had everything he needed. And then he hitched up his wagon and he headed towards town. The carpenter worked hard and he worked fast. He didn't even stop for lunch. It was a big job to do, but finally, just as the sun was beginning to set, he began to put his tools away. His job was done. And just then, old Joe came up in his wagon full of supplies from town, and when he saw what the carpenter had done, he was speechless. Do you want to know why? It was because the carpenter had not built a fence. What old Joe saw was a beautiful footbridge, handrails and all, that went from one side of the creek to the other. Joe was so flabbergasted, and as he was gathering his thoughts, trying to figure out what to say to this carpenter, his neighbor crossed from her side of the creek over to Joe's on the bridge with her hand stretched out, and she said, "Joe, my old friend, I am so sorry about our misunderstanding. I can't believe you did this. I just want us to go on being friends. The calf is yours." And Joe took her hand, and you know what he said? He said, "Keep the calf. I just want us to be friends again too. And you know what? This wasn't even my idea. This was the work of this young fellow here." The carpenter, seeing that his work was done, hoisted his toolbox on his shoulder and turned and began to leave. But then Joe said, "Oh, wait, stop. You don't have to go. Please stay. You know what? Between me and my neighbor, we have seen that you are a good man and you do really good work, and I am sure that we have projects that between us we could keep you busy for weeks." And the carpenter smiled and thanked them, but said, "I would love to stay, but I can't. I have more bridges to build." And he continued his way down the lane to the next place where he would find good work to do.
To be of use by Marge Piercy. The people I have loved the best jumped into work head first, without dallying in the shallows, and swim off with sure strokes almost out of sight. They seem to become natives of that element, the black, sleek heads of seals bouncing like half-submerged balls. I love people who harness themselves, an ox to heavy cart, who pull water buffalo with massive patience, who strain in the mud and the muck to move things forward, who do what has to be done again and again. I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who go into the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along, who are not parlor generals and field deserters, but move in a common rhythm from when the food must come in or the fire be put out. The work of the world is as common as mud. Botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust, but the thing worth doing, well done. It has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. Greek amphoras for wine or oil, hoppy vases that held corn are put in museums, but you know, they were made to be used. The pitcher cries for water to carry, and a person for work that is real. Joys and concerns today. We raise up the people who are essential workers, the people who must go back and teach in classrooms ill-prepared to handle a pandemic, to the people who have kept our lives going because they have gone to work. We also want to lift up the people in our church who have been ill, who have had great joys, and the distance between birth and death have been seen during these months. And so we hold up each of those families in love, in compassion, and in sympathy. Remember, as we hold ourselves quiet in this moment, that we remember, as Margaret Walker identified, the people, their strength to the years who gave them during the gone years and the now years and the maybe years. Washing, ironing, cooking, scrubbing, sewing, mending, hoeing, plowing, digging, planting, pruning, patching, dragging along, never gaining nor reaping, never knowing and never understanding. Remember the people who do the work that we cannot or do not want to do ourselves. Be at peace. Be blessed. And hold joy in your heart. Joy.
Loosen, loosen, baby, you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby, you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Holy breath and holy name, will you ease this pain? Holy breath and holy name, will you ease this pain? Loosen, loosen, baby, you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby, and holy carry the weight of your muscles and bones. Let go, ease this pain. Holy baby, and holy go, let go, let go.
Good morning. Welcome to TVUUC. My name is Claudia Presley, and I'm the Director of Administration. Today is a Generosity Sunday. That means that all contributions that come in that are not marked as a pledge go to the General Operating Fund of TVUUC. The way you can give is to go to tvuuc.org/give, or you can text give to the number 73256, type in TVUUC and the amount that you would like to give. Once again, thanks for joining us and have a blessed day.
Just before you say something you can't take away, take a breath and let it out. Try to think about what would love do now. Wondering if you should cross that line for good. Whatever you decide, ask yourself from inside, what would love do now?
Everything is either an act of love or a cry for love. That's why for love we try for love. In the end, that's all we know. It's real. Whether right or wrong,
Whether right or wrong,
doesn't matter just as long.
doesn't matter just as long
As you let your heart decide, ask yourself from inside, what would love do now? 'Cause everything is either an act of love or a cry for love. That's why for love we try for love. In the end, that's all we know. It's real. Whether right or wrong,
whether right or wrong,
doesn't matter just as long.
doesn't matter just as long
As you let your heart decide, ask yourself from inside, what would love do now? 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 What would love do now?
I recently saw a cartoon in the New Yorker that had a picture of a fairly austere-looking boss sitting at the head of a boardroom table, and he said to the members of the board who were gathered for a meeting, he said, "Before this meeting begins, and before we talk about destroying the competition and screwing over our workers and our customers and laughing all the way to the bank, let us pause for a moment of prayer." Labor Day weekend seems like a good time to talk about our faith and our works. And we want to talk some about the dangers of treating our faith and our works like two separate compartments in our lives. but bringing those two together so that we can live lives of wholeness. There's something fundamentally wrong about being a saint on Sunday and a scoundrel at work on Monday, practicing generosity on Sunday and greed on Monday, practicing kindness and compassion on Sunday and cutthroat competition on Monday. This morning we want to talk about what the Buddhists called right livelihood, bringing our faith together with our works and finding wholeness. Labor Day weekend is a good weekend to do that, to talk about bringing our faith and our work so that we could lead meaningful and productive lives. This morning we'll be talking about and showing pictures of the work that we do. Sometimes it's professional work in the community, sometimes it's volunteer work. We're also going to highlight all the work that it takes to make this church work. For instance, this organ that is behind me, it took a lot of work to put that organ together. It was abandoned and disused and disassembled in a school that is in Middle Tennessee. And people from this congregation worked hard to recycle it. It's an ecological project, recycling it, putting it back together, restoring it. Those pipes are hand-painted by Will Dunklin. A lot of love and work went into the creation of that organ. The chalice that's behind me was made by a potter in Fort Collins, Colorado. When he heard about the hate crime that was committed in our church many years ago, he was moved by love to create a chalice for us. And this week, the Fort Collins Church and our church will be working together to create an ordination ceremony for Christopher Watkins Lamb. Love and work going together. So how do we work so that we have the same character on Sunday that we have on Monday, that we live consistent, ethical lives? Well, the 19th century Unitarians used to speak about salvation by character. Now, what does that mean, salvation by character? Here's what I think it means. I think it means we don't always get it right. We sometimes stumble, we sometimes make mistakes, we sometimes do selfish things, but we can aspire to have integrity. We can aspire to live as ethically as we possibly can. We can set high ideals for ourselves and aspire to have good character. A person should not be judged by the details of their dogma so much as the content of their character, to paraphrase Martin Luther King. Or we might say a person should be judged not only by the content of the character, but by the quality of their work, to aspire to have character and good work. There is an old Universalist saying that says, love is the doctrine of this church and service is our prayer. Love is what we feel in our hearts, and our work is how we let it show. The poet Marge Piercy wrote words that seem especially appropriate to read this morning. She wrote, Greek amphors for wine or oil, Hopi vases that held corn are put in museums, but we know they were made to be used. The pitcher cries out for water to carry, and a person for work that is real. This longing for work that is real can be problematic if we're doing a job that we don't like very much. And it can be problematic in this time of pandemic and massive unemployment. We know that a job is much more than a paycheck. A job can be a sense of belonging and connection and community. A job can be a way to make a difference and help change the world, or to serve and help others. A job can give us a sense of personal value. When we are unemployed, we can feel unappreciated, unwanted, and unloved. And during a time of massive unemployment, it's especially important that we lift up the first principle of the Unitarian Universalist tradition, where we affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. So if you're struggling right now economically or struggling with a sense of purpose and direction, we want to affirm with you your worth and your dignity. And let's take that message out into the world and share it with others who may be struggling right now. The other thing about work is we know not all work is paid work. A lot of the work that makes our household run, that's not paid work. A lot of the work that makes the church run is not paid work. Right now, I'm in the workroom for our flower committee that work together to create the floral arrangements that are in our sanctuary when we hold worship services in the building. And fortunately, the flower committee has found creative ways to share those flower arrangements online during this time of pandemic. A lot of people do jobs they hate and come to church to do the jobs they love. And we are grateful for people who put love and work together to serve this congregation. Now we see love and work all around us. Right now you're in your home. Look around you. You won't have to look far to see some work that someone has done, something that's an example of love and work that have come together to help create a home. That is the power of love and work. It takes a household and turns it into a home. Even, not every minute of that work is what we love to do. I hate mowing the grass. You may hate doing the dishes, or you may hate doing the laundry. There's all of us struggle with some of the work, but that work is real. The work that it takes to create a household and create a home, that is work that is real, and that is what our hearts cry out for. At the Star King School for the Ministry, a Unitarian Universalist theology school, I was once told that there is a sign in their kitchen that says, "We are all responsible for our own theology and our own dishwashing." That's an important part of Unitarian theology, this sense of personal responsibility as it is manifested through our work. Now, in the Hindu tradition, there are 4 yogas. The first yoga is bhakti yoga, which is when we worship through devotional rituals or through prayer. The next one is jnana yoga, which is when we worship through learning, through education, and through study. The third is raya yogi, raya yogi is when we worship through meditation and seeking enlightenment and epiphanies. And last, there is karma yoga, which is when we worship through our work. When our work is not just something we do to sustain our body, but something we do to sustain our spirit. That is karma yoga, unselfish action, acts of service in the world. Karma yoga is not always the fun jobs. Karma yoga might involve doing the dishes. Mahatma Gandhi was an internationally known spiritual and political leader. And so he could have got out of a lot of dirty work. And yet he thought that cleaning the latrines in the commune where he lived, that cleaning the latrines was karma yoga. Cleaning the toilet is an act of worship. Think about that next time you clean your toilet. Karma yoga is about devotional work in service to the family or to the community or to the world. It often involves the dirty work. Karma yoga might be changing a diaper, or it might be cleaning up puke. It might involve cleaning up dishes, or doing the laundry, or cleaning up after a potluck dinner, or picking up litter on a greenway, or cleaning up the politics of this nation. That too would be karma yoga. We are doing karma yoga when we work to make sure that every person working earns a living wage. That's karma yoga. When we work to ensure that every person has access to health care, that is karma yoga. When we work to make sure that everyone has access to affordable housing, that is karma yoga. When we work for clean air and clean water and to address the problem of climate change, that is karma yoga. when we work for peace and justice, and we remind people that all lives can't matter until Black lives matter. When we do this, that is karma yoga. I don't know about you, but I think there is enough work out there for us to do that none of us should ever worry about being unemployed. One of my favorite parts of my job is when we take the youth group on a Boston heritage trip to learn more about our Unitarian and Universalist tradition. And one of my favorite places to go is Walden Pond, and we get to walk out to the original home site where Henry David Thoreau built his house with his own hands and endeavored to live simply and find spirituality in nature. But one of the things he was constantly concerned about was right livelihood, how to earn a living in a meaningful way. And he thought people really needed to work hard to think that through and make a wise choice. Here are some words he wrote in his famous book, Walden. How shall we earn our bread is a grave question, yet it is a sweet and inviting question. Let us not shirk it as it is usually done. It is the most important and practical question which is put to us. Let us not answer it hastily. Let us not be content to get our bread in some gross, careless, or hasty manner. Some go a-hunting, some a-fishing, some a-gaming, and some to war. But none have so pleasant a time as they who are in earnest seek to earn their bread. It is true actually as it is true really. It is as true materially as it is true spiritually, that they who seek honestly and sincerely with all their hearts and lives and strength to earn their bread, do earn it, and it is sure to be very sweet to them. A very little bread, a very few crumbs are enough, if it be of the right quality, for it is infinitely nutritious. Let each one of us then earn at least a crumb of bread for our bodies before we die, and know the taste of it, that it is identical to the bread of life. That's a little bit of 19th century language, but what he's saying is to earn our bread is to discover the bread of heaven. So let us find ways to seek what the Buddhists call right livelihood, what the Hindus call karma yoga, what the Jewish tradition calls tikkun olam, to repair the world, and what the Christian monastic traditions are referring to when they use the phrase to labor is to pray, to seek the spiritual insight of these traditions. There is a song that goes, "May the life I lead speak for me." So let's take a moment to listen to that song. And as we listen to that song, we're going to see images of the work people do. People from our congregation, the work they do or have done in their professional lives out there in the world, volunteer work, paid work, unpaid work, the work that helps sustain a home, the work that sustains this church. And there's be a lot of emphasis on the work of the church, what we do that makes the church possible. Now, I warn you, some of these pictures will be pre-COVID, so you'll be, oh, why aren't they wearing any masks? Well, the reason they're not wearing any masks is because it was before the pandemic. So these are pictures from different times in people's lives. If some people who are retired may have posted something from their career, or they may post from their current volunteer activities. Lots of different images from lots of different time periods. So I invite you to enter into this song, "May the life I lead speak for me." But we began with a New Yorker cartoon, so let's end with one. I once saw another New Yorker cartoon. This time it had a fairly austere-looking Anglican priest who got up in the pulpit and said, "Let us pray, but if you're Unitarian, do whatever it is you do." So let's take a moment to listen to a song and meditate on whatever it is you do.
Let the life I lead speak for me. Let the life I lead speak for me. Oh, when I come to the end of my road, lay down my heavy load. Let the life I lead speak for me. Let the work I do speak for me. Let the work I do speak for me. When I do all that I can, my friends don't understand. Let the work I do speak for me. Let the songs I sing speak for me. Let the songs I sing speak for me. When I lift my voice and sing, it changes everything. Let the songs I sing speak for me. Let the love I share speak for me. Let the love I share speak for me. When I open up my heart, make a brand new start. Let the love I share speak for me. Let the friends I keep speak for me. Let the friends I keep speak for me. When I draw the circle wide, let everyone inside. Let the friends I keep speak for me. Let the life I lead speak for me. Let the life I lead speak for me. Let the life I lead speak for me. Oh, when I come to the end of my road, lay down my heavy load. Let the life I lead speak for me. Let the work I do speak for me. Let the work I do speak for me. When I do all that I can, my friends don't understand. Let the work I do speak for me. Let the songs I sing speak for me. Let the songs I sing speak for me. When I lift my voice and
make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
Like the never-ending work of household chores, our theological labor is never over. Prophetic Church, the world awaits your liberating labor. Go forward in the power of love, proclaim the truth that makes us free. As our last act of worship, I invite you to call, text, or write your neighbors.
As we go marching, marching in the beauty of the day, 1,000,000 darkened kitchens, 1,000 mill-lofts gray, are touched with all the radiance that a sudden sun discloses. For the people hear us singing, bread and roses, bread and roses.